Good morning, everyone. It's great to see such an excellent turnout for the innovation track. And thank you to Hilary for running the track and inviting me down here. It's been great. I've enjoyed my time in New Zealand. I'm the Financial Services Industry Director for Microsoft for Asia. My name's Neil Cross. I do apologise for the suit. I live in Singapore, so we can explain it that way. Another way is that I'm very easy to spot at a conference. So if you see me around, please come and say hello and make some jokes about my suit or whatever you please. What we're going to look at today is not what Microsoft products we have today, not products we have coming next or version next. We're going to look at products and services that we believe will be delivered in 5 or 10 years. So we'll think about how people communicate, how people work and interact, how people become a part of their social landscape, and how that happens whether you're at home, you're in the office, or you're traveling, which I do a lot. And so I'm very welcome to see some of these big changes in our technology landscape. I've spent 3 weeks on the road now. I've been in China, Hong Kong, Australia, Indonesia, and now New Zealand. So I spend a lot of time using our link technology to talk to my friends and family. But as we'll see today, that technology will extrapolate out into some very, very interesting scenarios in the 5 to 10 year time frame. I've spent a lot of time in innovation and technology. I look after financial services now, and it's a pretty big territory. New Zealand's my most southerly, and my favourite, in fairness. And I go all the way to Japan, China, India, Malaysia, Thailand, basically all over Asia. I spend a lot of time talking to heads of retail banking, heads of payments, heads of channels, heads of digital, CEOs, chairmen, and I'm on a number of innovation boards. So I do see a lot of projects. I also spend quite a bit of time in the US talking to Microsoft Research. And I spend a lot of time with partners, helping them think about how they innovate their products and services and marketing for the future. But firstly, the most important slide is all about me. I've also got another 100-slide deck all about me if you want to see it any other time. We'll just give a bit of a background on myself. I started coding when I was 11. In fairness, I really didn't have that much choice, because to load a game on the ZX Spectrum, who had a Spectrum here? Hey! I had the 48K with a rubber keyboard. Interesting to see that the Microsoft Surface will have a rubber keyboard. It's going back to the old school. So we knew we had to develop. We had to write load, quote, quote, put your tape in, and then load a game, which took roughly about 3 to 5 minutes. And that was the platform I started developing on. I hooked up with a few other developers, and we started writing computer games when I was at school. The first game we wrote was a game called Andy Cap. And Andy Cap's a character in the Mirror newspapers. So Mirrorsoft were the software company that were commissioned us to build this game. And for a teenager, it was a great game to build. The whole idea was to get drunk, fight, and kiss women, which is fantastic. And a good, wholesome game for young kids to play, I feel. There was a small issue, though. Andy Cap had a cigarette in his mouth. So we did all the artwork with Andy Cap with cigarettes in, all the animations. And doing animations in 8-bit was very, very interesting, to say the least. Essentially, you used to draw them out on graph paper with a pencil and colour them in, and then transfer those onto the screen. But Mirrorsoft, halfway through, they contacted us and said, look, no, we're going to have to remove the cigarette from Andy Cap's mouth. That isn't the image we want to portray, especially since those games are for children. And we said, is the drinking and fighting and womanizing okay? They said, we love that stuff, it's great. So we released Andy Cap, and I think it got 80-something% in computer and video games. And we did quite well from that. Second game we built was for Firebird called GI Hero. And that was a sideways kind of scrolling military game. We go around and shoot people. Again, really healthy stuff for kids. In this one, I managed to get my Alsatian dog, called Rascal, in the game as well. But I had certain levels of frustration with fighting games at the time. My frustration was that you could keep pressing the same keys and beat the enemy, or do the same combinations, or just hit the keys harder. Well, you had to anyway, it's a rubber keyboard, for God's sake. Or press them quickly. And I thought there must be a better way to this. So we built some very basic machine learning in there. And what that would do, if you kept pressing the same combinations, the likelihood of the enemy to have an effective block for that attack would increase. So what that did is you couldn't keep killing enemies with the same technique. You had to become a better player, a more rounded player with various combination styles of attack. So by the time you finished the game, you knew all the attack styles that were possible. And that was quite interesting. From then, it left me with a good appreciation of machine learning and how systems can learn off you as a player. What we also found with games, and something I've kept all the way through my life, I only stopped developing commercially 10 years ago. I still write machine learning algorithms on the weekend occasionally, if I'm particularly bored. I still find the subject fascinating, but you can write two games. You can write one that's architecturally perfect. The comments are beautiful. You use, psychometric testing, test-driven development. The code's a work of art. You can build another game which is cobbled together, hacked about, stuck together with sellotape. One will be more commercially successful over the other. One customers will want to use and experience, and one they won't. And it has nothing to do with the architecture or how well it's developed. So I've kept that through my life. The systems should be engaging, should be usable. And we see there's, a term called gamification. Well, I think gamification is just a small element in this. Really, really good design is critical in the way we build software. And it's becoming more to the fore. So no longer do they think of the user experience as the final stage of development. Most successful software companies are thinking it as the first stage of development, and then working back from the experience back into the back-end systems. After that, my career went downhill, and I started writing search engines for business software. I worked for a company called ICC, ended up being Dun & Bradstreet, and that's where I got poured into the world of financial services. But still very, very interesting. Did a lot of work in the cloud in the early 2000s. After that, my career obviously went up when I joined Microsoft and spent a lot of time now, as I said, consulting partners and banks on the future of technology and the future of our industry. But there is a problem. Problem is, technology is accelerating. Moore's law is still active. The amount of transistors on a chip will double every 18 months or similar. We've got so much noise in our lives, so many systems, processes. We've got masses of devices, and none of them talk to each other, unless they're all from Microsoft, obviously. And this is a problem. I'm sure you all agree. I used to be able to keep up with the conversation on Facebook. It's not because I've got older. It's just I've got more friends and there's more people posting. Unless I check it twice a day, I lose track of what we were talking about, or even where that post had gone, because it just drops down in the relevance. Also, searching across the internet is painful. I mean, searching is the only IT system I know. If you put less in, you get more out. So if you put a really long sentence, you don't find what you're looking for. You have to put a really short one, and then the technology goes, here, you find it. Well, wait a minute, we're humans. We're telling you what to do. You shouldn't be giving work to us. But that's the place we're at the moment. And of course, all this noise and all this technology, is it making us more productive? Is it making us better at our jobs, or better spending time with the people we care about? No, absolutely not. When computers first came into the workplace, productivity dropped, where people had to negotiate those new interfaces and those new processes, and people were actually less productive. And we're going to hit a wall where we get more and more data, more and more technology. So how are we going to fix this? How are we still going to be productive and do what we need to do, and actually, still enjoy our jobs rather than become, massive kind of data analyzers just to get through a day at work. You combine that with us as humans, and we're flat. We don't grow. Our brains have been in the same place for tens of thousands of years. Some would even say we're getting a bit dumber every year. So we've got technology accelerating with data, faster machines, and more social connections. And our brains are staying at the same place. We're not getting better at this. We're staying the same. And those ZX Spectrums we used to use when we were kids, they're the chips that are now in greeting cards. They're the chips that are now in washing machines. We've got millions of times more capability in our desktop computers than we had then. But again, has it made our lives any better? So for decades, it's been about more, faster, better, bigger machines, more memory, more storage, more data. But technology should really enhance our lives. But at the moment, I feel like it's limiting us. It's given us too much. It's this overload. Does technology help manage our lives better? Probably not. A calendar helps. Mobile devices help. But it doesn't make it fundamentally different. We need more time to spend with the people we care about. Friends, family, or in my case, customers and partners. And so our strategy is to just rethink about how this collision is going to occur between technology going like this and our human brain going like that. And so what we did, we look at our portfolio of products. We look at our partners and customers and competitor systems. We look at Microsoft Research, and as you're all aware, Microsoft Research and Development we'll spend about $10 billion US this year. And I spend a lot of time with those guys, and I'm always shocked by the things that I see. For example, I was up at the research center in Beijing recently, and they had an avatar, really lifelike avatar, of our Chief Research Officer, Craig Mundy. And then they typed in some text, and his avatar spoke in English. Then they pressed a button, and he spoke in perfect Mandarin, with the context and with a Chinese accent. It's pretty amazing stuff. And we'll see a lot of speech and language translation inside what I'm going to show you today. So what we did, we look at all this, we extrapolate out into the future, we look at how people work and play and connect socially, and then we made a video about that. And I want to play you that video, and then I'm going to deconstruct the video into the different scenes, and we're going to talk a bit about the technology that is used to power that.
Welcome to Johannesburg International Airport. Please approach the road to create your pickup zone.
you're still here. Okay. It's a pretty interesting video. Has anyone seen this before? Oh, it's not too bad. Good. You've all seen it now. We produce these videos really to help kind of guide our customers and partners, also our internal teams. You can imagine Microsoft, we do everything from cloud computing to keyboards and everything else in between. So we need one kind of vision of where we're taking this company in the future. And I think that really demonstrates what we're trying to achieve with our products. You might not have seen many Microsoft products in there, but they were certainly in there. And some of those things, in fairness, you could build today. The technology's there. We have speech translation. We have things like Connect. We have near-field communication. But you'd have to write a huge amount of code. Obviously, some of that hardware is not available. But still, some of those scenarios you could build. But that's not the point. What you want is those systems to have defined interfaces, schemas, communication methods, to have standardization, that hardware you can buy off the shelf. And that's when this future will come about. It's when we can loosely couple all these devices and systems together to drive that experience. And so when we think about redefining productivity, it's really not just about getting more things done. It's about doing the right things and doing them well, and just getting rid of that noise and chatter, and also having systems that work on your behalf and not on your behest. As a long-term developer, I still feel like I'm programming computers. I still feel like when I build a PowerPoint, even with the great versions we have now, I'm doing a lot of work. I'm still commanding the computer to do things for me. It still makes the same basic mistakes. No matter how many times I misspell a certain word, it never auto does it for me. It doesn't learn from me as a human. And that's absolutely the next phase of computing, machine learning. There was 2 stories in there. One was Alia, and she was on a business trip to Johannesburg away from her family. It's the first time she'd been to Johannesburg. So what she did is she signed up for a travel hub. And there's a lot of concepts around hubs in here, so sorry if I keep repeating that word. So she signs up for a travel hub. And that gives her a VIP/concierge service all the way from when she lands to the hotel, to meetings and back again. And I'll show you how that experience works. So Alia first arrives. We see she has glasses that do speech translation. As I said, that technology is here today. Actually, if you don't know, there's free speech translation in Link. I have to spend a lot of time on conference calls with people all across Asia with very different language skills. And what I do now is we both have Link. I switch on the free translator, search for Microsoft Link Translator. It's a free download. And it covers most languages in Asia and around the world. And I talk as well, obviously, doing voice and video. But then if they don't understand, I type it into Link, it translates it, and it can also speak that language out the other end. I mean, it's not 100% perfect. No language translation is at the moment. We need more data to make that happen. But it's enough to give them a clue of what I said orally. So tying those 2 together, my experience in remote meetings is massively improved, by at least 100%, because they get to see the text in their native language. So she turns up. She's subscribed to a travel hub. Now, the travel hub knows she's landed. That screen next to her, it says, "Your car is coming." It alerts the airport chauffeur service. They drive up. She then is part of the travel hub experience. When she sits in the car, the transparent display in the car, we can see it on the bottom right. Transparent displays are already here, by the way. I did just launch a new bank branch with DBS in Singapore, and we use transparent glass there. So it's glass, transparent screens, not transparent glass, it's all transparent, yeah? Screens. And it digitally enhances what you see through that naturally. And it's here and it works, and it's pretty expensive, but it's a very interesting place. So it augments the experience. So in the car, the travel hub knows who she is, knows her schedule, knows where a meeting is, for example, and then highlights the building using augmented reality there and says your meeting's there tomorrow. That's not science fiction. Commonwealth Bank have an application in Australia on a certain phone device, which when you hold it up in front of a house for sale, it will overlay the house price data, what it's sold for before, how many bedrooms, it will give you the floor plans. You can have a look at where the local schools there are and how people rated that area. This technology is very much here. And there's multiple examples of those that I can go through, which I'm going to present tomorrow, in fact. So the technology is already here to manage that. So when we think about what the concepts here, we've got, recognition devices, whether that's NFC or face recognition. We've got the concept of cloud-based hubs, which manage data interchange between line of business applications. We have kind of see-through LCD displays. We have language translation. And we look at the products we have today that will extrapolate out into the future to deliver this. Things like Windows Mobile, Azure, Office 365, and Connect would be the ones that we'd be looking at. So next, Alia's in the car, and as we all do, when we have 5 or 10 minutes spare, we pull out our phones. Immediately, the first thing that shows automatically is a travel hub. It's got context. Her device knows she's traveling. She's in this process. So it won't just show a generic start screen. It will boot straight into Travel Hub. And it won't show her the whole Travel Hub itinerary for the next 6 months. It'll just show her what she's doing at this precise moment in time. So she checks that. She speaks into her device and books a meeting with Chin, who we'll discuss later. And she also sends a message back to her home hub. And that message she draws in the air, which is a heart, which appears on I think it's the refrigerator or the wall back at home. So she's connected straight into her work life with context of what she's currently doing. And then she can reach out into her personal life using the same device as well. And all of this is delivered on a mobile device. And it's rendered deliberately to fit that screen. And we'll talk about that later as well. And so the technology and the systems we're looking at is speech, is having syntax and contextual awareness, and the ability to do gesture control to draw a heart on this device. And then the hubs, again, are playing a big part in this. And technology today would be Windows 8, would be Connect, and again, Office 365 and Azure. So this person here, this is, in this slide it says bellhop. We probably know them as concierge. And this person is waiting to greet Asia as she comes in. He has a single-use device, a very cheap credit card size compute device, which just has his job on there. That's all it has. His job, and also not only his job, but what he's got to do next. And what he has to do next is the hub has sent a photograph of Aya, sent her details, sent what language she speaks. The weight of her luggage was delivered via the airport systems. And so he is completely empowered to receive that person. I presume it would also auto check in. So he knows what time she's arriving based on the machinery in the car. And he has that in one place ready for him. So when she arrives, he's prepared and she gets excellent service based on that hub. That's pretty interesting. A lot of these are really about delivering technology that is for you right now. You may be doing a million tasks as we all do in our day-to-day life. But at a certain point, we want to do one thing, we want to do it well. And that's the thing that's next in front of us. So the technology here is obviously the smart glass. Has anyone seen Xbox Smart Glass yet? Yeah, okay. We'll talk about that a bit more in the next few slides. Obviously, cloud, online CRM, things like that, delivering line of business down onto these small devices. And some level of intelligence and processing, and we call them kind of auto-helpers or machine learning. So systems that work out what you're trying to achieve amongst that big mess of data and processes, and then brings that and delivers it in an experience or an interface that's suitable for what you're currently doing and what device you're on. Alia's now checked in. She sat in her hotel room, and first thing she does is obviously check her work, as you would. So she's looking through her calendar. She's got an online meeting later, and she has to do some research. And what she does is very similar to what I do, but my experience is very different. My experience is a huge bag full of leads that I take to hotels so I can use the screen in the hotel to work off. Her experience is she flicks it and it appears. So the concept of Xbox Smart Glass is you can move processes, data, media between different screens seamlessly. And this technology will be out fairly soon. What it also allows you to do is, I saw a demo recently, if you're watching a TV program on cable and you pull out over Xbox and you pull out your Windows Mobile, it will show you who the characters are on screen at that precise moment in time, what the storyline is, what other films they've been in. If it's, for example, Game of Thrones, which is so addictive, it will show you the map of and talk about the kingdoms and different ancillary information. And then you can move that video onto your phone. Maybe you're going out. Maybe you're getting in a taxi and you want to continue watching it. And this is very real technology that will be delivered very soon, Xbox Smart Glass. And so that gives her a better experience. She also has a range of devices. She has, we can call it a Windows Surface device there. She has her phone device, and then she utilizes the screen. The screen also has gesture control, so she can interact with it with her hands, and it also has speech control as well. So she gets a better experience by using the hotel screen than she would on the devices she brought with her. And this is all powered, obviously, by cloud, by Xbox Smart Glass, and by Office as well, being able to deliver any content or process on any device via the cloud. The next thing she has to do is modify a presentation. And I have to build a lot of presentations, an obscene amount of presentations, probably one, two every week for my last 7 years at Microsoft, sometimes more. And it's a task. It's a real task. If I think about it logically, I'm almost programming again. So I think, okay, I've got to build a presentation on machine learning in insurance. So what do? I search the corporate net, great search engine we've got. It brings back lots of stuff. I collate that stuff. I search across the internet. I go and find some videos. I go and find some photos. Now, they're not the right size, but Bing Search has got a great photo finder. And I get all this stuff together, huge amounts of stuff, and then I sift through it, and then I kind of start, okay, I found some text. I found a white paper on machine learning from MIT. I'll kind of take some of that text, pull it in, put some nice photos in. I'll start building a slide, and then the next slide, then the next. Then I think, oh, the flow's not right, and then I go back, and then I think about, how to make this whole thing hang together. Oh, it's too long. Okay, shorten it. But that's not how we should build stuff. And even though PowerPoint gets fundamentally better, you can do stuff like edit videos, edit photos, and really use PowerPoint as your workspace. We're still not there with it yet. What I'd really like to do is to talk to my computer and go, hey, I've got to build a presentation for an hour on machine learning based on Microsoft technology. Please go and collate some information for me. I want video, I want images, I want some PowerPoint and some Word documents. MIT are quite good in this. And my auto-helper should be going across, collating that data, getting rid of the noise, finding it, rolling it up into a package that I can then use as my palette for creating my presentation. And then all I should really do is drag on some photos and some text, and they will snap into place. It knows my design style anyway. And if there's like a gap in the PowerPoint on that one page, now when I bring a picture over, it should resize to that gap. It should know I'm going in that gap. I'm not going anywhere else. I won't overlay all the other stuff like it currently does. It will know that that's the next place. And then as I build it, it will kind of start changing the formatting. It will realize that my fonts are a bit wrong in some places. My titles are in different places. And it will also format. Then it goes through. It will actually learn off me as a presenter and know how long it will take me to present this. So as I'm building it, it will go, right, you're up to 35 minutes now. You need more content. And that's what we're thinking about for PowerPoint, is that place. Again, the machinery works on your behalf. You don't have to command it so much. And so the kind of systems we see here are things like auto-formatting, content usage analytics, so understanding what content we want to put on there, and then finding similar content across the internet or internal networks. And what we have today is obviously Office. We have touch technology. We have Bing and speech technology. And we have advanced data analytics in SQL Server and SQL in Azure. So now she's built the presentation, or modified it and added commentary. Now's the big live meeting, or link meeting, if you will. So Jeff is sat at his machine. Very nice machine it is. It's one piece of glass. Again, 3D stereoscopic transparent displays. Who here's seen a 3D television you don't need glasses for? They're not bad, are they? You have to move a bit sometimes. Yeah, you have to be in the right place. What it does, it's got crystals which refract the light, so you get a different image in each eye. So you kind of, if it doesn't look right, you have to go a little bit to the left or right. And it does work. We connected one up to Connect, and in 3D, we could pull bars out of the screen. It was amazing. So this technology is going to get better. It's going to get miniaturized and will be more suitable for day-to-day work. So they're having a live meeting here. You look at those characters. The first thing you notice is there's no background on them. And they're appearing right inside the work system there. That's for one reason, because they're not real. They're avatars. Who's played with Avatar Connect? Who's got an Xbox? Who's got Connect? Download Avatar Connect. It's hilarious. So what Avatar Connect does, it's free. You can download it from, you have to download first the Connect Labs, and then in there's Avatar Connect. Now I used it to present at a conference in Sydney when I was in Singapore. I couldn't fly. I had other meetings. So this conference in Sydney, there was a full-height avatar of me, a puppet, if you will, wearing a much better suit than I wear today. Nice striped suit with a tie. And whenever I moved my arms, the avatar moved its arms in real time. Whenever I moved my head, my avatar moved its head. When my lips moved and I spoke, its lips moved. When my eyebrows moved, they moved. And it was a fairly good, not perfect, because it's more kind of game-ish avatar. I was able to present remotely and be effective on stage. So rather than just a video of me, it was the avatar was presenting for me. And it's free, and it's an Xbox. Now you extrapolate this out to life-like avatars, like I saw up in Beijing. It does two things. One thing is, no matter what the lighting conditions or how much noise there is in your background, it will render a perfect representation of you. Or no matter whether your hair's messy or maybe you're not even dressed, it will represent a perfect version of you. Bad hair day, no problem. What it will do, secondly, it digitizes you. Now that's important because now you're digital, you can interact with the rest of the digital landscape. So as you saw in the video, she was manipulating some of this digital landscape. Because it has a perfect 3D representation of you inside that device that is sending, it knows where you're touching in the digital landscape and then can allow you to interact with it. And this is real. We've seen Craig Mundy on stage at our global conference appear as actually a very lifelike avatar, actually walking around a 3D model of our research centres and interacting in that place, pushing buttons for lifts and stuff like that, which is a very, very interesting space. So, we have great technology now. Link's brilliant. I'm a huge fan. We have, we have Roundtable that brings in, video for conferencing. We have Skype, which makes Link and Skype probably the world's largest communication fabric. We have instant messaging. I think I saw a stat the other day. Every month there's 300 billion instant messages sent across the planet. Microsoft manage about 65% of those, and that will grow as Skype gets integrated. And so we have great communication fabrics, but then what we need to do is just remove those barriers from that geographically dispersed interaction, so it's a lot more human. I did see some research we did in the US, which was a little bit scary, where they had these humanoid robots. And the skin on the robots was actually a screen. And so what it would do, this robot is from torso up, it would project you onto the robot. So you'd be sat in a business meeting, there'll be a mannequin in front of you that, unfortunately, I didn't try it. I don't think they get robots fat enough, in fairness. But it appears as that person. I'm not sure whether that's going to be something people would enjoy, but we'll see how that pans out. But pretty interesting stuff. So what we're looking at here is obviously speech recognition, the ability to digitize a human, essentially, or at least the way they move, gesture, and speak, and enable remote collaboration, people working on the same project. Next, we saw Jeff and Chi interacting, and they had to make some changes. I think they're building water pumps in this. And usually when you have to critically change a project, there's a lot of ramifications, as you all know. Think about software. The customer wants to add new features, i.e. scope creep, and those features have knock-on effects on not only the architecture maybe, and the systems, but also on the project timelines, maybe on testing, and also people that need to work on that project. So when minor changes happen, you have to recalibrate the whole thing yourself. But as we saw with this, because we have these helpers that understand these systems, they can roll up the point that needs collaborating. In this case, they needed to change the flow of one of the pumps. When you make that change, it also calibrates everything else for you, because it understands the context and the mechanics of the project you're working on. So if you change the flow of that pump, that means the price changes. It's a different pump. That means that pump needs to be installed by 2 people, not 1. That means the price of the project goes up. That means it's been slightly delayed. But that also means all these other benefits. So the systems self-calibrate. And we have very, very advanced analytics in SQL Server. I'm amazed that not every single customer I know uses the analytics feature in SQL. I've seen some amazing demonstrations where it will predict stuff, like really, actually, like with 95% accuracy based on historical data. I do a lot of work, obviously, with banks, and things like, okay, this person, will they buy a credit card? And what you do is you quantify that person, life stage, where they live, what products they already have, et cetera, and then you run it across your 5 million customer base. You find other people like them. Then you find those people that bought a credit card. How long after the last product they bought that? And then that will give you a figure to see how likely it is that person will buy. There's a 62% chance that they'll buy a credit card in the next 6 months. And that, you don't even have to program that. Just do some drag and drop. It's pretty straightforward. So these analytic engines are absolutely there. And so the technology we look at in this space is obviously, again, Office 365, some of our touch computing, machine learning, and SQL Server. Next thing we saw was Aya's child, Shannon. I've been reliably informed is her name. She was playing on the most amazing screen I've seen, which actually projects onto the table as well. Not quite sure how that works. But she's playing a game. She's playing an educational game. I'm a huge fan of using games to drive behavioral change. I consult, actually, many startup companies on this. It's a passion of mine. We recently sold a financial services education game to OCBC Bank in Singapore. And that's to help them educate children on how to manage money better and think about their future life. And hopefully the bank will sell more products to their parents, obviously. But these games are getting smarter. We're currently at the stage where it will kind of work out how fast the person's learning and put new challenges in front. But games in the future will get even more sophisticated educational games. They'll work out your personality, your learning style, what strengths and weaknesses you have, how you want to interact with the game. And then they'll cater the content and the learning curriculum based around that individual person. And there's people building systems like this already. And it's not to get rid of teachers, but it augments the teacher-to-student relationship, but it also fundamentally changes the homework scenario. And also for kids who live in remote locations, these games can then drive behavioral change and learning. So she was playing a game. She got she did some maths on there, for example, and then she had to search for a recipe. So she spoke into the device. She minimized her game, spoke into the device, and then it went and searched then for different recipes for her bake sale. But she found that her dad's no good at cooking. He doesn't know anything about food, bless him. You can see the fridge is full. He's probably been getting takeout while his wife's away. So what does she do? As any young girl would, she reaches out to her mum. So the call coming in has been directed to a mobile device, and immediately she can chat to her daughter. Her daughter says, I'm trying to make a cake. I found some recipes, please can I have some help? So immediately, Alia can use the hotel screen to research some of the recipes her daughter's already identified. So that transition of process happens from the home hub into her mobile hub, which is currently centered in the hotel. Again, her mother appears as an avatar right next to the process that they're engaged in, and she can sit through and help her daughter actually make the cake in real time. So we have that instant communication, an instant connection and involvement in our family lives that we don't have today at that level. And I think this is the most important thing. Apart from work and blah, 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 do better at what we do, this is the thing which really excites me. The ability to have a near human contact while being thousands of miles away. And they're in a collaborative scenario as well, so this applies to work as well. They're collaborating on a recipe. They're using, touch technology and obviously brought all together with cloud services as well. And then delivered on a variety of different devices. We've seen quite a lot of Alia's world. We've seen her land in Johannesburg. We've seen her being part of the travel hub, having an experience in the car, and then being greeted at the hotel by a concierge, and then moving into the hotel doing both work and play. And her life is very different from my life, apart from the fact I don't have children, I don't like baking. But her experience is very different. I turn up at an airport, I'm like, where the hell am I? Where's the taxi sign? What language do they speak here? And where's the hotel? And where's this meeting? It's written in Chinese. And do you know what I do now? I find the location of my meeting. I have it in Chinese on my laptop. I photograph it with my phone, and then I hold it up to the taxi driver. That's my world. And I'll tell you what, a couple of times out of 10, he'll take me somewhere random and just kick me out. Because even he doesn't know, in fairness. He's just moved to Beijing. He's just moved to Beijing. He's been driving cars for about 3 months, full stop, in his entire life. And he has no idea. And why is this Western guy shouting at him? So very, very, and that's the truth. I've got lots of stories about China, but that's one of them. And that's my life. And that's the best thing I've found so far. So if I've got a full day, I'll photograph everything. The restaurant, my hotel, all my meetings, everything, photograph it all, and then just go through. God help me if my phone runs out of power. I'm stranded. But I do have a backup, and that's the hotel, I like to call it the return to sender card, which I always keep 2 copies just in case. And I have one in my wallet and one in my coat. So at least I can get back to the hotel and feel safe and then work out what I'm going to do from there. So lucky Alia. Hopefully in 10 years, I'll be in a different place. Well, we'll have like perfect English to Mandarin anyway, translation. Let's talk about Chi. Chi was one of the other characters we saw in here. And he's at Sai Ying Pun. I haven't been to that MTR station in Hong Kong. I hope it's pronounced like that. And he, as I said, like anyone, so he's there. He's got 5 minutes to the next MTR in Hong Kong, and he pulls out his phone. I'm surprised not everyone's got their phone out, because that's what usually happens, isn't it? So he's there on his phone, pulls out his phone. I've got 5 minutes. So his phone understands his context and pulls up his kind of 5-minute work display. So it works out of all the things that Chin needs to think about. It's actually, he needs to think about work now. So what it does, it rolls up, and this is what I particularly like, and one of my biggest frustrations in technology at the moment, is we get one interface that does everything. It's like online banking. You get one online banking system that does everything. Thankfully, the mobile's come along and it's deconstructed some of that and put it in a better place, but still, it's still everything. Not for Chin. It's worked out his context. There's a request coming in flagged as urgent, which you need to set how many litres the pump is for. That needs to be calibrated. So all he does is get an experience where he needs to set a number of litres. So it doesn't give him the whole thing that he has to scroll through. And then he goes in there, and we saw on the phone, he sets how many litres it needs to be ordered. He clicks the button, and then it shows him his next task and his next in level of importance, but delivered in an interface and an experience which is conducive to his scenario and his device. Already we have Windows 8 is out, as you're all aware, very shortly, and that will enable you to design one experience which will self-configure in certain areas depending which device that is on, whether it's on the phone, on the Surface, or whether it's on a laptop or a PC. It'll have some of those elements of self-configuration. So that's the first stage to making this a reality. Obviously, technology is the same here. It's Office 365, it's line of business, CRM, Azure, etc. But Chin's a very nice guy. So he notices there's a video playing for a benefit concert. And being a nice guy, he wants to donate some money. Actually, it's not that nice because it's only $4 New Zealand roughly. So he holds up his, okay, cheapskate Chin wants to donate some money. So rather than throw $4 down, because there's actually no one there's probably, thousands or millions of these screens across the world by this point. He holds up his device. It creates a one-off loosely coupled connection. Device recognizes, knows where he is, knows what he's looking at. Okay, check the hub. That's a benefit concert by these people. Okay, connects to his payment service. He donates his $4. And the screen responds back to him. It's obviously another avatar. Says thank you. The guy looks at him, which is, a nice way to be appreciated. You can also then look at what other donations have been made. What's the average donation? Probably not $4, you cheapskate. Probably 10. And so he has some level of BI and interaction, but it's more than just giving someone some coin for a charity. Now he feels a lot more engaged. He feels like he's part of the success of that charitable organisation. And this isn't as far-fetched as we think it is. As I said, with Commonwealth Bank and with Standard Chartered up in Shanghai, holding up your phone and the systems understanding what that video feed is. Where am I? What's that object? How can I interact with it? What data, what layer is associated with this geolocation and that object? And then mixing the two, the analog world and then the digital world, and then coming up with an experience to, enhance that scenario. For example, PayPal recently did a trial in Singapore where you could photograph the QR code on an item in a shop and it'd pay. And so what it would do, it would recognize the QR code, and then it'll go off to the cloud service, go, that's a ladies' lingerie. No, sorry, I wasn't buying that, honestly. It was a pair of boxer shorts. And then go off and then use PayPal to do the payment to the store, which I thought was quite interesting. Obviously, Windows 8 will have near-field communication in the phone, and that means that I can do shortwave data interactions that are very secure. So we're building an e-wallet. I know there's a lot of companies out there with e-wallets, both banks, card providers, other software vendors, and we will certainly have that capability when it launches before Christmas. And that enables you to do, I'm sure you've seen these contactless payment devices where you can currently use your card and you kind of wave it randomly near it, and you can do like a low-value transaction, probably less than $100. Well, soon you can do that with your Windows Mobile. So Windows Mobile and Android will have NFC. Apple, they haven't decided yet, but we don't care. That's the way the industry's going, and tough. And there's startup banks who are just building on this, like Brett King's a famous banking author. He's just started a bank called Movin Bank. All you get is the application on your phone. You get no cards, no checkbook, no paper stamps, no nothing. It's just completely on your mobile. So this payment scenario is actually very much here now, and will change the way that we do payments. But there's a lot more to it. So it's not just getting rid of the credit card. It's also gives you a lot more information. It can do vouchering. It can authenticate for tickets. So it can do lots and lots of different things. In the future, we won't be having these RFID bands at this conference. We'll be using our mobile phones to walk in and verify. But essentially, really, we want to love what we do. Whether we're creating stuff or being in meetings, contributing, just get rid of that huge, noisy amount of data and processes that we currently have to deal with. That stuff that gives us kind of anxiety, that slows us down, that stops us getting to the data and the process we need immediately and being effective in what we do, whether that's personally or in work. And it better amplifies our human capability. So those two graphs won't collide anymore. Those two graphs should work well together. As technology gets better, how it augments our human capability will also get better. Hopefully we'll be more productive. Hopefully we'll enjoy our jobs more. And hopefully when we're on the road, we can spend more time having interactions with our family. And that's me. Thank you.